Wonderful. Hello and welcome to Shaman Sisters Sessions, episode 23, where we're speaking about empowerment. Shaman Sisters Sessions was born from me and Catherine Bird, my dear shaman sister, and our conversations about spiritual practice, personal growth, what it means to be a healer and do our work in the world. So thank you so much for joining us. We are so happy to welcome my dear sister, Jennifer Alyse Rogers, today. Jennifer is a professional photographer and visionary actionpreneur, if I do say so myself. She gets a lot done. Who is also the master facilitator and visionary creatrix behind the Empowered event, which is happening for the second time this year, coming up in May. So please join us in welcoming Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here today. It's a wonderful pleasure to have you on the show.
I love what you and Kat are both creating, and I'm so honored to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're speaking about empowerment today. I know the Empowered event has a lot it's been a long time coming, a long-term vision for you, but what is empowerment? Why do we care? And especially as women, I know that that's part of your jam is women's empowerment, but what does that mean to you to speak about empowerment?
Yeah, what is empowerment and why does it matter? I see what's happening in the outer world right now, and I think that it's so easy to point fingers outward from our own experience. And to me, empowerment is to take full accountability for all facets of our lives and to point external blame and bring it back to our own selves and to be on a path of wholeness.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, we talk about empowerment a lot and, personal power. And, I know that in my work, working with healers or I also have a men's coaching program, and empowerment is a huge thing. And this sort of like the lack of awareness of internal power that causes so many problems in the world that seems to be at the core of, so much violence and so much disconnection and lack of love, lack of a community, all of these things that when we have this sense of being fully empowered within ourselves, we have the ability to connect to other people and to start to create change in the world. And I think that we kind of live in a society that disempowers us. From the time we're really little, we're sort of disempowered and told that our views and our ideas aren't really valid and that we're coloring in the wrong color and that cows aren't blue and, that we're not given this sense of knowing our own direction and our own hearts and our own mind. And it's sort of beaten out of us, our personal power, so that we fit into a society where we're not empowered and we follow along and we need to kind of pull our power from other places by consuming and, taking part in the parts of society that actually aren't sustainable. And so as we're seeking to be re-empowered, it seems that one of the things that we're doing is is like learning how to be human again, and learning how to live our light and be who we are in the world, which talking to people is often one of the most challenging things that we are up against, is this sense of being empowered.
Yeah. Jennifer, I know, let's discuss, kind of these different facets of empowerment. I know for your event in particular, you kind of broke it down into Empower Ed. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I want to be really honest that I think empowered can almost be a trite, overused word. Yeah. And I believe that we're in a time where I want to redefine what it means.
Yeah.
And if you break down the word, I really was able to see that empowered stands to me for empathy, for working from our heart, and that we're leaders of a new paradigm of working from our heart in all that we do. To me, that power comes from within. It's not something to go out and get, but it's something that we cultivate within our own essence. And then the ED on the end for empowered education is the final facet of what I really believe in. And I believe that we have to educate ourselves for true wisdom, not just textbook knowledge, but education of our own selves. And that's the greatest path to empowerment. So empathy, power, and education.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kat, what you were speaking about, learning how to be human again, returning to the fundamental state of being where we, that childlike innocence of, oh yeah, of course this is how I am, being who we truly are. What are some characteristics of empowered and disempowered people, or if we are behaving in an empowered or disempowered way? I'm kind of curious if we can help outline to our viewers some of what like physical qualities or measurable qualities exist when we are empowered or disempowered.
Well, I'd like to respond to that, Kat.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I immediately think of both of the work that you both bring into the world. And to me, an innate foundational trait is to be grounded in the world. And that's not even spoken about for most like collective consciousness. That's not even an awareness of what that even means. And I think that that's fundamental for us to be grounded, to actually be truly empowered.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know that when I start working with people and learning how to cultivate this empoweredness, it all starts with really being grounded and then drawing the energy in and starting to feel what it feels like to actually have that energy inside of the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, grounding, hugely important. I want to speak also to living in the body and having a good relationship with body awareness, and which is a facet of grounding. Absolutely. Most people don't live in their bodies. I just started working with a new mentor, or one of my new mentorship clients that I just started working with last week, where she's coming into her spiritual awakening. She's speaking with angels. She's getting all these very high vibration downloads. And I had to have a conversation with her about, I know it might seem a little bit counter conditioning that you will actually be better able to do this higher vibration work by being more grounded in your body. And she needed to hear that, because in her mind, I'll only be able to do this high vibration work and speak with the angels if I'm up here out of my body. So we have to bring it back down in. And I know many of our viewers are practitioners, are empaths, are healers. So energetic empowerment, embodied, physical, grounded empowerment is huge in supporting not only what it means to be a human and live on Earth, but what it means to be a healer or an empath, highly sensitive person, and live on Earth in a successful, actionable way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Mm-hmm. Cool. What are some other facets? We talked about grounding. I heard also, the heart-centered piece. Let's speak to that a little bit.
Well, I believe when you're empowered that your actions are for the greater good of all. And it's not from a place of what can I get, but how can I be of service? And I believe that it's being empowered is a new form of leadership and an evolutionary way of being, where we're heart-centered as a primary way of being in the world.
Yeah, because when we see the disempowered, right, when we talk about the other side of the coin, we see when people truly are disempowered, they're much more likely to either run in this stream of victimhood and apathy and kind of checking out and just not participating and not caring and not being like, they don't have enough energy to even care. Or to become really perpetrators and contribute to subjugation of other people and planet and animals and sort of trying to draw power from others, becoming part of this. We can look at like this rape culture experience that we have, and how so many people, I was in a conversation this morning, and about so many people, a lot of men are like, it doesn't even exist. That's not even a thing. That's a construct. And because it is a way that they're seeking to source power, right? Sourcing power by demeaning and subjugating others and viewing violence as an outlet and as a way to feel more powerful. And when we were really empowered, like, we lose all that stuff and we're like, oh no, actually, I can empower other people. Truly empowered people seek to empower other people. They're not seeing that someone else being powerful or creative or successful is going to diminish them in any kind of way.
Yeah. Jennifer, I know this is one thing that you and I have spoken about, and I've heard you expound upon greatly about what it means to empower others, and especially the very feminine aspect. I think, and what you just said a couple minutes ago about revisioning the word empowerment. Power. People are afraid of power because of this old paradigm connotation of exactly, Kat, what you were just speaking about, where power means that someone else has to be smaller. Me being powerful means that someone else has to not have enough, not have what they need, and in order for me to have enough. So this is absolutely what we are doing to revision and recreate that term.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's my hope that as a collective, as a society, that we can come together and recognize our innate power that we're born with, and allow that to rise as leadership within our own lives, and let that ripple out to our fellow community, and let that to begin to be a ripple effect to how we are in relation with everything, including our own self, and the way we treat our earth, the way we treat others, our thoughts, we think.
Yeah.
It is a journey to wholeness. I really do believe that.
Yeah. And it's a journey to wholeness, not only on the personal level, but exactly what you said, how it ripples out to inspire wholeness, balance, and harmony, not only in ourselves, but in our families, in our societies, in our communities, and on the earth plane.
Yeah.
One term that I really like that actually I got from Amateo when I watched his lecture that he published recently is omnipositive systems.
Yeah.
And something that I have been saying for years now is everyone wins when everyone is empowered. There are no losers when everyone is empowered, but this term omnipositive systems, where that's the only kind of system that I'm interested in creating or participating in, where everybody wins.
Right. Isn't it beautiful to witness the expansion of consciousness that's available right here? And we don't have to go out and do anything, but just to show up for ourselves. And I really appreciate the work that you both bring to the world to help align every person that you work with to their highest potential. And imagine if every person was in alignment with their soul's path, and what that would ripple out to. Yeah.
I know that's the mission, right? I'm super curious, Jennifer, if you'd be willing to maybe share a little bit, because we're talking about like personal journey, collective journey, and maybe a little bit more about your personal journey as to how this became such a huge part of your mission, and like where are you coming from? Because I know that a lot of times when we look at what our mission is in the world, we have an interesting story, and usually it's kind of juxtaposing and going in different places. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you arose to this being a primary aspect of your mission.
Thank you, Kat. I love that we all have stories to share, and my personal story began over 8 years ago, coming out of top of my class in business school. And I was conditioned the complete opposite perspective, where I was taught that competition and what is in it for me was the way. And there was a little seed of intuition that began at 22 years old, and I knew that that was not my path. So I took a very wild leap of faith, and I, in 2008, declined like a 6-figure income job, working for a great company, and I followed my intuition because I had a vision. I had a vision during a documentary about spirituality, and I sold everything I owned, and I picked up a camera and I began photographing. But the journey really wasn't about becoming a photographer. The journey actually became about my connection with spirit and how I could be of service in a greater way. So that was the catalyst. And what's led me present day, now 8-9 years later, I've had a business around the entire world where I'm in word of mouth. I don't market. My life's greatest adversities have led me, though, to work with women in a very intimate way, in a level of empowerment, because I found myself in a very abusive relationship and was completely disempowered to even have a voice and to get out. And so it took everything I could to get out, and I was stalked online, and that was one of my greatest teachers. That was one of my greatest teachers, and I knew deep within my own self that we all have the tools to follow our North Star, to follow our intuition, and that we are much more powerful than we even know. Mm-hmm. So it became a part of my mission and vision to help support women in reclaiming that. And I work with women primarily because I see that women are gatekeepers to a collaborative creator for the greater good, and I'm hoping that we can create balance within our masculinity and femininity. Mm-hmm. And Kat, thank you for your work that you do with men. I think it's vital as well. And really we're here to come together and support each other. I believe that we're here to go like this and to be harmonious and to create harmony back into our world.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing and speaking to your journey. That we did an episode last month or February sometime where we were speaking about shamanic relationship and relationship as teacher. And it sounds as though, this was a wonderful teacher for you in reclaiming your power and really discovering what it means to be empowered, reclaiming your voice, reclaiming your priorities, and then putting that out into the world in the way that you have.
Yeah, and I believe that there's a balance with empowerment too, and there's a misconception that empowerment means that I have to go out and push and make things happen. And what I'd love to invite in is a new way of where we become energetically aligned and are magnetic, because we're magnetic, energetic beings.
Yeah. And
so that a paradigm in which I was conditioned was that you have to push and go create, go get, and it was very masculine. Mm-hmm. And so I've had to integrate really a receptivity, intuition, and my intuition has actually been my greatest key for all synchronicity and serendipitous moments. And I really do believe that we have like essentially heaven on earth here, and that is available for every human when we're connected to our spirit.
Absolutely. I love that you're speaking to, it's like you're touching upon all the episodes we did lately. So we just did one about balancing the divine masculine and feminine internally as a function of empowerment. You're great. I love it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's no accident.
No. Kat, do you want to share a little bit about some of your journey of coming into empowerment?
Let's see, coming into empowerment. I mean, I think that a lot of my journey of coming into empowerment has really been this accepting myself completely for who I am and what I am, what I do, and what happens to me when spirit takes me over, and to be extremely authentic and vulnerable and real about that for people. And within that, I had long received that it was part of my purpose and my path to be that expression, so that other people can feel their own empowerment. Because what I see so much of out there is that we have this amazing intuition and these gifts and these spiritual desires and abilities, and because they're just weird and not accepted and outside the box and a little bit different from what we've seen as normal society, they really get pushed down and held in, and can cause so much suffering and pain, and being able to understand and accept and be fully expressed in our magic and our gifts is one of the most empowering things that we can possibly have. And so I know that that's been a huge part of my path, and I know how challenging it is when, you know, spirit kind of opens you up in a certain kind of way, and it's unexplainable and it doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't look like what it's supposed to look like. And you know, as we, you know, seek to empower, you know, part of my path is really to seek to empower, you know, these magic people and these light workers, so that we can do this, you know, great work of healing and transformation on the planet. And you know, as far as feeling empowered, I think that not living your soul's calling, not being authentic and real and really expressed in who and who you are, and in alignment with the way your body needs to perform, the way it needs to eat and sleep and play and be in nature, and all of those things. I think those are the things that really cut us off from this next level of empowerment that we're shifting into for a lot of us as we you know, rise in consciousness.
Yeah.
And Michelle, you want to talk about your empowerment journey a little bit?
Sure. I will speak to something that I am sitting with right now in this moment, in my eternal quest of self peeling the layers. I am sitting with an idea that was suggested to me over the weekend by one of my Reiki students. I was teaching a class all day Saturday on sensory intuition. And there was something that I was sitting with in terms of asking some questions. Basically, we were participating as a group and sort of doing readings for each other. So one of my questions was around this certain facet of my work that I am doing, and some questions that I had about, am I doing this in the best possible way? And I had one of my brand newbie Reiki students who was this super magical, very intuitive, wonderful Haitian woman who, you know, grew up kind of steeped in these layers of magic. And she, you know, kind of looks to me and she says, "You need to claim your mastery." And wow, I loved it. You know, I loved hearing that. And then I realized also that is one of the things that I am currently, and actually I have been sitting with for years. It took me years after I was even attuned as a Reiki master to call myself a Reiki master. And now I feel totally comfortable calling myself that. But apparently there are still these little edges that I have that I'm pushing up against about, you know, part of it related to my age, part of it related to you know, my qualifications in the world, and this whole imposter syndrome thing, which still exists for me, despite clearly I am qualified. Clearly I know what I'm talking about, but really sitting with claiming my mastery as a function of my empowerment. And the whole class, this whole classroom full of people, you know, when she said that, they're all like, yeah, you need to claim your mastery. So apparently that's part of my journey of empowerment right now. Yeah. Jennifer, I'm kind of curious. I want to hear about, because I know 2 years ago when you and I first met and started doing some work together, may I share a little bit about some of our work together?
Oh, I'd love for you to share. Absolutely.
Yeah. Jennifer was one of the very first participants in my New Moon Rising program 2 years ago.
Yay.
And yay! And I remember 2 years ago hearing from you, I want to do an event focused on women's empowerment and empowering women. You had this intention probably even for a long time before then, but I remember that was your core thing that we were really pouring a lot of energy into at the time. And then a year later, the Empowered event is born, and this is its second year. So I'm kind of curious, how was that journey for you in birthing this vision and really pouring a lot of your own personal journey of empowerment into creating a space for others?
Wow, that's a powerful question that you just asked. Can you repeat it? Because I want everybody that's listening to feel that.
Yes.
Question.
I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something to the effect of so I speak as a reflection for you. I have witnessed you ever since you and I met, very divinely arranged, just over 2 years ago. And you and I were working together. We began working together pretty immediately after we met because just the timing worked out. It was this perfect synchronicity. Talk about synchronicity and intuition. Right. Clearly we need to work together. Clearly you're doing this program, ready, set, go. And even then, that was your intention. That was your core seed that was driving you, that we were processing, was, I want to create an event based on women's empowerment. I want to create a retreat. I remember you said you want to create a retreat for women to dive into empowerment. So I'm curious about the birth of this event.
Yeah, I really, the birth of the event comes from surrendering to spirit and taking the guide of what wants to come through. So I literally just clear out of the way and just listen. That's a huge key, is listening. Mm-hmm. And so I just receive the intuitive hits of what I'm here to create, and then I do it.
Yeah.
And then I go back to the drawing board in silence. I listen. What wants to come through. So it's almost like no attachment to what the outcome is. It's more of just being the vessel of what wants to come through. Maybe similar to what you've created, Michelle, with your New Moon Rising program. You have a very strong intention and it's channeling through you. And very similarly, the Empowered event, I can feel within my own body, within my own felt body, right, kind of like right in my solar plexus and my heart, that there is a capacity for human potential and intuitive capacity to completely rewire the way we are showing up in the world. Mm-hmm. And so it's not even a question of a doubt that what I'm here to create had to come through. Yeah, so you were a huge guide in aligning. So we aligned with new moon intention, and I really do believe that aligning with our moon rhythms is vital as well. Mm-hmm. And being in connection with nature in our modern day culture of even any of this wisdom. And it's my hope that we can bring this forth as a way for everyone to incorporate the power of their manifestation and co-creation on the planet.
Yeah.
I love all of that. I love the thread pulling through there. And I believe we are hitting the new moon time. So
yeah.
So I'm, encouragement for everyone who listens to this to take some time to tune into that, getting really still and quiet and allowing the mission and the vision to flow through, and not having that attachment and then doing what it takes to bring that to the world. We're often given these messages to do things, and we have a choice whether we want to do them or not. And maybe the piece of empower, how if we're fully empowered, it means that we actually choose to follow those intuitions and the guidances and the information that's coming through us, because it takes a huge amount of surrender and letting go and being, like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to step off this cliff and maybe this doesn't make any sense to my life. This doesn't, like, how am I even going to pull this off, and to do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's like the euphoric high of being alive on the planet, is to be able to totally jump into the unknown. And I'm a living example of that, where time and time again, it's just like, jump into the unknown. Okay, follow an intuitive guide. And it's what's the famous saying is, leap and the net will appear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's just like, follow it. It's just life is so juicy and so good. So beautiful when we can begin to listen and take action from that intuitive, inspired place.
Yeah.
And be a channel for what wants to come through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Both, we've kind of circled all around it a couple of times, where this feminine, the very yin-based practice of empowerment, coming from the place of allowing, coming from the place of surrender, coming from the place of a clear channel. Let me be the hollow bone for this work to flow through me. And yes, Jennifer, you're totally spot on. That was how that New Moon Rising program came to me, is I just channeled it. I just was just hearing, oh, this is how this is supposed to go. And I just wrote it down. And it sounds right. You've had a very similar process with this event. Kat, I know you have that happen with your work too, where we're just following directions. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wonderful.
So can we talk a little bit more about the hows? Like we're hitting on it. So we're already there, sort of hitting on the hows of how we, feel into this empowered experience within ourselves. And I love the concepts of actually shifting our awareness or our definitions and our comprehension of empowered from maybe this more masculine, go out, make things happen, search outside of ourselves, kind of do what other people are telling us to do, follow along the program of, success that we're supposed to be on. And then what we're stepping into is actually, well, wait, maybe what if I step more into my feminine and into the cycles and into receiving and being quiet and allowing things to just move through me to actually feel this more empowered sense of being.
Right. This is where I'd like to interject also, and I know we discussed this in our Rebalancing the Masculine and Feminine episode, even though we are heavily including the words women's empowerment, and we are all women here, everything we're saying applies to the brothers as well. So I know we have some medicine brothers watching our show, and this is applicable. The feminine state of being is something that it would behoove all of us to cultivate in ourselves, and this, the yin awareness. So please keep that in mind as we continue. But Jennifer, go ahead.
Thank you for sharing that, Michelle.
Yeah.
I think that's so vital. That it really isn't just related to just being in a female body or a male body, that we are beings with an integration happening of our femininity and our masculinity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's I really appreciate the yin and the yang being a representation of pure balance.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, Kat, back to your question. Jennifer, any thoughts on the hows?
Yeah, I think there's tangible hows, and I really believe that, like I said, it starts with being grounded. And so to be in an ethereal plane for all of it, for being empowered, to me, it starts with being very grounded. And to me, the practical hows start by taking the finger of pointing outward, bringing it inward. Mm-hmm. That to do our own work and integrate in wholeness, to confront our shadows. And that carries us into our light, right? I think it's vital. The hows, to me, it's very simple. Mm-hmm. Be grounded, number one. Put your feet on the earth. Number two, listen. Listen, follow what you love from your heart. And number three, take the baby next step, action step. That I would break down the hows in that very simple way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that. That's all, yes, very basically like, okay, we can all just be empowered, where that's like, it's so simple.
Yeah.
You talk about stepping into the shadow and being willing to face yourself, right? And to face your shadow, to face your fear, to, often these soul missions and callings and the, the visions that we get, they're scary as hell, that we're like, oh gosh, really? Is that what I'm going to do? Is that like, I know I've had the conversation with Spirit of just being like, are you serious? Like, is that what you're calling me to do? Is that what that's what I'm supposed to do that?
Right.
Okay. And then being able to sit with that for long enough to get to the place, okay, I get to do that. That's what I get to do. And, and that there are those places where we do feel maybe like a fraud or an imposter, or, like maybe we're not qualified to do this thing, or, everybody's going to hate me, or this is going to fail. And to really step through those inner demons that are chattering to us to keep us small, I think is the doorway that we're going through to be truly empowered inside of ourselves.
Yeah. I feel like I want to talk for a minute about addiction to the disempowered state. For some reason, I'm getting tapped on that might be something interesting to talk about. So we've thrown out a couple of examples in the ways in which we can allow ourselves to become disempowered through external influences. So, Kat, you were speaking about kind of early childhood. No, cows aren't that color, right? Or you're not supposed to do it that way, or you're not allowed to, so familial influences, educational influences, partner influences, work influences, all of these things poking us from externally about, not to put us in a state of disempowerment, but for us to put ourselves in that state. But really, we can rob ourselves of our own power. And it's such an important journey to recognize and reclaim it. So I'm kind of curious, do either of you have thoughts about, this state of like epidemic disempowerment and our personal addiction to it from that fear space? Yeah, Jennifer?
I just had a flash. I'm like, well, this runs deep. This isn't just in this generation. I mean, this runs back how many lineages of disempowerment. And so I just like, that's intense. But in this physical body, in this life, disempowerment, I think, stems from the lack of self-love. And I believe that that true journey of self-love and coming to absolute wholeness, I'll keep saying the word wholeness, is vital. And the addiction to disempowerment, I think the ego loves, because it proves itself right, that you can't do it, that, see, I told you so.
Yeah.
It keeps us in a cycle of victimhood, disempowerment.
Right.
And we see it everywhere.
But I'd love to hear, like, what are some examples that you find? Yeah. What are the most tangible examples that you guys see of addictive disempowerment?
People, I would say people usually find me when they're finally ready to reclaim their empowerment. Okay. But the cycles leading up to it, we hear about, oh yeah, I've been in my shitty job for 30 years.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Or yeah. So like really, people not taking care of their health and surrendering the power that they have, their body sovereignty, and coming to me in health crisis and saying, yeah, I've had, this health thing going on, or like, I don't sleep, or whatever it is, because we feel that deeply in our bodies. And by the time people come to me, they're usually ready to snap out of it and wake up and really reclaim the power. So it's a journey of examining, where have you been allowing yourself to be giving this up? And then doing some soul retrieval work, doing affirmation work, like a lot of soul retrieval, pulling multi-generational from many, many lifetimes, this releasing of the power, this giving up of the power. So finally, and Kat, I'm sure you can speak to this too, where we're at cosmically as a collective of humanity on this journey of reclaiming our power.
Wow.
Yeah. And as we look at ourselves right through our lineages, and especially women, I often go to speak to retreats of women, and on teaching how to move trauma and things through the body, how to move these things through the physical system. And one thing that always comes up forward is that at this time, especially when we look at Western women, and that we have the time, we have the safety, we have our basic needs met, And in this time, we are seriously being called up to heal these wounds of disempowerment, of being disenfranchised, of being abused and neglected and forced into basic, pretty much slavery into our families, of having to care for many multiples of children and sort of cook and clean and take care of animals. And really that's it. Like you are held within this system and probably not getting to marry even someone that you even love, and how we're holding all of that through our lineages as women, and then also through the collective for women in all of the places where those experiences are still extremely present for many, many women on this planet, and even in the United States with sex slavery and all of the things that we're looking at in the way that we are so disempowered. And we are being called as women to move some of this trauma and these wounds and to shift this energy within ourselves, and in so doing re-empower the system in a way and help to raise our sisters up through our own healing ourselves and working on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, this is sort of a side.
Yeah. Totally relevant though. Yeah.
I see disempowerment with women in two ways. I see it within women that have had to put on the mask of being a man to survive in their corporate world. But then I also see disempowerment with comparing themselves to others, and the game of comparison as being an addiction. And unfortunately, media outlets do not support women in celebrating their individual greatness and brilliance, and their birthright of their beauty. And it's just every human's divinely perfect in their own essence. And I think that as our society, we look outward, and that to me is an addiction. I'm very sad in a way about the use of how much technology we have, with like how addicted we are to being on a screen through social media platforms. And to me, that can be disempowering if we're not connected to ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so what is that balance, right? As we're coming into such an age of technology and use of technology as a communication tool, how can we, with our younger generations, empower them to be connected to their sovereignty and their self?
Yeah. And then use the technology as a platform for healthy interrelation, healthy connection, rather than distraction and pulling away from the primary relationship, which is self.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And self and spirit.
Yeah, exactly. Which is the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that this requires us asking these hard questions of ourselves, of looking through our past and looking at the places that we have been, our power, we've felt like it's been taken away, or we've given our power away, and then looking at our current self on a regular basis of like, where am I giving my power away? Where am I giving my power away by not honoring my no, or by not actively seeking my yes, or by agreeing to things that I don't really want to do, or by giving my power away to television or the internet, or to food, or to shopping, or all of the things that we give our power away to on a regular basis. It's not always the most beautiful, like, fun practice to look at ourselves in that way.
No, this is not the sexy shadow work, if there is such a thing. I don't know. It's
shadow work. I think that should be one of our topics, sexy shadow work.
Sexy shadow. Okay, but you know what I'm talking about, where it's like, oh, that's the shadow that's fun to look at. This is not that shadow.
Yeah, and you know what I love too, though, is it's like, as we integrate as human beings, it's like on the other side, it's like what's so available to us if we're willing and we have the courage to really go through and confront all facets of ourselves.
Yeah.
That's where the addictions begin to fall away, and that's where true empowerment to me comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can I ask how, we're talking a lot about self-empowerment.
Right.
And I know that we can sometimes look at the world and look at like what's going on out there. And, you know, a lot of us as healers or, you know, therapists and people who are out wanting to make the world a better place, we are getting involved with people who are maybe in a very disempowered state. Or we're seeing societally a mass of people that are in such a state of disempowerment that like their comprehension of even these concepts is like they're completely removed. So yes, we want to work on ourselves, but when we're looking at the world and supporting others, like how are we going about that?
How are we going about supporting others when they're in a state and condition of disempowerment or fear? Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah, that's a great question. And I believe that we cannot change anyone. However, we can light the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really just hoping that we can invite in as many people to step forth and step fully into their lives. And to me, that lighting the way is a vehicle for shifting others that may not even have the capacity or awareness at this moment in time.
Yeah.
I also believe full acceptance of the present moment is vital too.
Mm-hmm.
Being fully accepting and loving what is a vital practice. That I've noticed for me is when I love what is, that gives whatever that what is the opportunity to evolve and transform.
Yeah.
So letting love be a beacon in which we create shifts within our collective.
Mm-hmm. Kat, I think you brought up a really interesting point that I have heard come up in various conversations and kind of contemplated for myself, is this idea around the journey of empowerment and all these things that we're speaking around here being a function of the privilege that we have as white women in the United States of a certain economic means, you know, like speaking for myself, like still, you know, low income, but I can pay my bills and take care of myself and all of that. And yet, you know, in my mind, there's that word privilege, but it's also a necessity. And so speaking to how is this devotion to the self-growth, devotion to that practice of continuing to dive deep into the ancestral wounding, dive deep into the personal wounding, and active deep service, especially to those who, for whatever reason, you know, maybe their financial situation, their familial situation does not enable them to do that same work. You know, I think that's a really important consideration and awareness to bring to this too. Mm-hmm. It does benefit. That's my point. It does benefit. Yeah.
And you know, the truth is that we are highly privileged in
mm-hmm.
our, I mean, we're just by what we look like, we're highly
mm-hmm.
privileged. And you know, for us to continue to, you know, have that as an awareness, you know, mm-hmm. and to continue to, you know, reach across the sort of boundaries that have been placed around our different, you know, we could almost say we have like caste systems, you know, in mm-hmm. this country and in other places where for those that are seeking and to help to find ways that we can help to facilitate for those that truly are seeking and that are coming from a place of being disenfranchised but not disempowered.
Yeah.
And that are truly wanting to do the work. And you know, I know that it sometimes is for healers and those that are working with people, it's sometimes hard to figure out, and we have huge hearts and we're like trying to figure out like, well, how do I serve the world in the biggest way? Mm-hmm. And we know it starts with ourselves, but then really sitting with what are the other ways that I can be of service to those that are seeking, that maybe don't have access to what I have access to. And so I'm always looking at that, and, doing my programs and things like that, of having space for that.
Yeah. Jennifer, I know the Empowered event is actually a benefit for Girls Inc. of the Pacific Northwest. Yeah.
Yes, I'm really grateful, Kat, that you could bring up the topic, both you and Michelle, about privilege, and it's so vital to begin to bring that into our awareness when we're conditioned to have no capacity of even understanding what that is, and recognizing the amount of privilege that we do have in this country, as well as being a white woman within our economic structure. It's very important that the Empowered event, to me, could reach all women, and the proceeds do benefit Girls Inc. of the Pacific Northwest, which is an organization dedicated to inspiring young girls who are maybe in a situation, in a place where they are not able to have resources. So a percentage goes towards this organization. And also there are scholarships that I have available for participants to attend the Empowered event as well.
Yeah.
I think it's vital that we have an open conversation around privilege, as well as access to these tools and resources, so we can help stop a systemic problems.
Yeah. I think that was one of my goals in even bringing that up initially, is, again, going back to the idea of everyone wins when everyone is empowered, and creating omni-positive systems. So this journey of empowerment, yes, we're speaking to it from this perspective of having had the personal and financial means to devote years of my life to developing this practice, and, for you both as well. And also, how are we living in alignment with our soul's mission to bring that to the global level, bring that to the global scale? I know, so this event as a benefit for Girls Inc. of the Pacific Northwest, I know that's a cause that's near and dear to your heart, and I am so delighted to support you in that. And just all these other ways in which we are continuing to even changing the vocabulary of the collective consciousness. That's one thing I think about a lot, is how can we introduce these ideas, even just at the smallest level, introduce the ideas into popular consciousness. The idea of empowerment. What does that word even mean? What does the word grounding even mean? What does omnipositive system, what does that even mean? And slowly starting to work it into to where those concepts do exist in a collective awareness, even in people who might not be actively seeking them out. Yeah. Well, Jennifer, I know we've got a few minutes left here, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about the event. Can you tell us some of the things that people could be expecting if they're interested in coming your way?
Yeah, so the Empowered event is actually the second annual event. Last year was a half-day immersion with 3 coaches. This year, the event is an entire full-day immersion with over 10 leaders in personal and professional development. And we will have an immersion with international speaker and Shaman sister as well, Sierra Bender. She's an author of a book called Goddess to the Core. And then we will experience breakout sessions in 3 vital areas, which are financial empowerment, embodiment, and also those stories we tell ourselves about our own self and our beauty and our self-confidence. So proceeds benefit Girls Inc. of the Pacific Northwest, and it's on May 21st at the Nines Hotel in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, which is a beautiful venue. So
yes, I'm in alignment with how they're also approaching their food systems. They have bees that are up on their top roof. To me, represents femininity, as well as in alignment with the values of sustainable organic growing. Yeah, so the venue is beautiful. Sunday, May 21st. And more details are actually at the website, which is empoweredevent.com.
Wonderful.
And you are one of our guest speakers, which I'm so excited to have you there, really speak on topics that are vital to being grounded
Yeah.
and
Thank
living
you.
an empowered life on a foundational level.
Absolutely. And I am so delighted to be a part of this event. So for those tuning in, I will be speaking about energetic empowerment and what does it mean to claim our energetic empowerment to have that benefit us physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, on every level, to claim this. And, you know, I only have 45 minutes to do it, so we'll see how far we get, but it'll at least give a little bit to get you started. And Jennifer, so you said the event website, empoweredevent.com. Is there a ticket promo code that people can use to get a discount?
Yes. Speaking about being accessible to everybody, I really wanted viewers today to be able to have a code to use. So you can use a code BEFREE for $50 off your ticket price. So it's just BE and then free, FREE. Yeah, you can use that when you register.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your empowerment with us, for sharing these details about this event. And I would like to, you did such a wonderful job giving people the grounding, the, what was it? You said the grounding, the intuition, and the action for your takeaway steps. I'm kind of curious. I want to leave people, one of us, leave everyone with one thing. Like, what is your number one most important thing for claiming your empowerment? And maybe it's something we said already, but like, what's one really good takeaway? And I'll think of mine while I ask you.
I'll put you on the spot, and then I'll think of mine. I think it's stepping through your fear.
My number one tool for empowerment is listening to my own self, and being very tuned in, listening.
Yeah. And now I asked that question, I can't think of it. I'm like, oh, we talked about it all already. Okay, let me see. Let's see. Stepping through the fear is good. I think being willing to act upon it. I think that would be the action, because really empowerment is nothing if we don't act, you know. So yes, we can be grounded. Yes, we can receive our intuition, but it's only functional in the world if we actually take the steps and do something with it. Yeah. So that would be my number one, that's something, you know, like I said, that's something I'm currently processing in myself, of claiming my mastery. That's an action step. I'm working on the action of it rather than thinking about, how am I a master? No, I'm actually doing it. So that's my current one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us and contributing so beautifully, and for your amazing contribution to the women of the world. And I'm sure that you're going to have a beautiful and successful event, and we hope to have you back on next year when you're promoting the third one, and we're talking about how much it's grown, and able to kind of check in with you and see, you know, what's the next thing that you're getting your messages on, and your next action steps, because it's very exciting to track people who are truly creating positive change and contribution out there. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate what you're bringing to the world. It's vital.
Thank you. And I mean, you're welcome back anytime. We don't have to wait a year. You know, I know you have
the topics that you all discuss are some of my favorite, and I also think some of the most powerful to be bringing out into the world. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for joining us. And for those of you, again, you are welcome to reach out to us if you have comments, questions, if you have anything that you'd like to hear us Shaman Sisters talk about, or any other ideas. You can contact us through our email address, shamansistersessions@gmail.com. You can also view all of our previous episodes on our YouTube channel of the same name. Follow us on Facebook for details about upcoming guest speakers, future topics, etc. And again, the Empowered event, for those of you located in Portland, or those of you wanting to make the trip to Portland, for Sunday, May 21st, empoweredevent.com, with your special promo code for being a guest or being a listener here on the show, BEFREE, for your $50 discount off the ticket price. So Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us. It's such an honor and a pleasure to have you. And then also your personal website for those interested in learning more about you, jenniferalyse.com, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And ALYSE.com.
Yep. Jennifer, ALYSE.com. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.